am channeling Glinda the Good Witch. If you don't think I look like her, your mom's a hoe. This is the long-awaited Wicked video. As a former theater kid, so lore drop, yes, I did musical theater for 7 years. If I have like pictures, I know I definitely have pictures from Chicago. That was the last production I did in high school before like COVID happened. But if I have like more pictures, I'm gonna put them here. I literally forgot I was on TV, bitch. Like so like I was a theater kid. Say that all to say, I've watched Wicked 2 times, so I'm gonna go see it a 3rd time, but I'm gonna be traveling back home when I do that. So I'm gonna get like all the geeky stuff out of the way, technical stuff out of the way, and my complaints before I gush and I actually just start getting into the nitty gritty of the plot. Okay, so first things first, Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, the woman that you are. The woman that you are. Now, I've actually known about Cynthia Erivo through musical theater because she played Celie in The Color Purple on Broadway. So I've always known about Cynthia Erivo through Broadway, and through theater. So seeing her playing Elphaba, I was like, oh, she's gonna kill it. I knew it. She's a fantastic singer. She's always performed in theater, specifically musical theater specifically. Like, she's done this, so I was confident in her. I was also confident in Ariana Grande. Some people were trying to be like, they don't think Ariana is gonna be good at this because a lot of people now view Ariana Grande as a pop star. But if y'all really know my sis T, my sis started on Broadway because she was in 13. Y'all probably didn't think I knew that. No, if a mainstream artist has done musical theater, I'm gonna find out one way or another. Like Cheryl Lee Ralph, she's a mainstream actress at this point, but she has a lot of her chops actually in musical theater. She originated the role of Dina in Dreamgirls, also one of the greatest movie musicals of all time. But I forgot to say that my favorite movie musical is Chicago. So it goes Chicago, Dreamgirls, and then this next part. It's probably my number 2. After that is it's really between Hairspray and Mamma Mia. Editing Daria, and I'm still in the same robe. I lied. I actually forgot about the Wiz. Wiz is probably my number 3. Cause I have to do right by my people. Now that Wicked has come out, I don't know what has happened to that list. If you were to make an argument that Wicked is now the best movie musical ever, I would not be mad at them. It is simply genius. But let me go back to my original train of thought. I always believed in them casting those 2. I always believed it. And then when I saw that chemistry in their premiere interviews, I knew we were ready for greatness. Wicked in itself is just a strong show. I think that, yes, there was a lot of concern about it being properly adapted, but I think they did such a perfect mix of keeping some of the drama that happens when you're performing on stage. Your mode of acting is completely different than when you're on film. And especially when they were mentioning they wanted to make it more like human and really submerge us into the world, I was kind of concerned that they would take kind of the fun or maybe the drama that comes with performing on stage. When you perform on stage, everything is more, there's a lack of subtlety because you are performing for not just people in the front row, but people in the back of the house. So you have to sing louder, you have to enunciate, you have to really use body language. You cannot have any subtlety in your facial expressions or anything. There's really no no room for true softness or subtlety when you're doing stage theater because, like I said, you have to perform as to make sure the people in the back of the house can see you. And so I a lot of times they have to either adapt it to where it's like a movie with music, or they're trying to maintain that original essence of the stage that it almost comes off inauthentic once they put it in a film setting because stage acting doesn't translate to film acting. you know. But then also, film acting could feel inauthentic because it's meant to be performed on stage, so source material. So there was like just a lot of ways that it could go wrong, and this is just like a thing with movie musicals in general. Now keep in mind that Color Purple musical also came out earlier this year, and I did go see it. And now that I've seen Wicked, I was like, wow, the Color Purple musical. I love the source material, and I do love the music in the musical. So I was automatically just gonna have like a baseline love for it. But now that I've seen Wicked, I'm like, damn, they did not translate that stage to film, because Color Purple was a show I felt like remembered too much that it was a musical. And so they were keeping it, they directed it as if it was still on stage. Like a lot of the sets felt very small, and a lot of the ensemble dancing felt very condensed, because when you're on stage, you're working with limited space. So your sets have to be smaller, and your ensemble is more squished together. And that's like what I remembered about the Color Purple musicals. Everything just felt very small, as if they were still confined to the space of a stage. And so it didn't translate well to film. Wicked had the acting still gave the slight grandiose of theater, but they had like a bigger set, a bigger stage to perform on. So they were really able to like expand the show, and that's what brings us in. That's what immerses us into feeling like this is a true film happening in real life. I will say this. There's only like very few things I have to complain about. Honestly, I really have no complaints, because I feel like they're so minuscule, so negligent, because everything else about the movie is just so amazing. But when Michelle Yeoh started singing, I was like, what is happening? I didn't even know she was singing. It's because Ariana and Cynthia Erivo are truly two great voices. The rest of the cast simply did not compare in vocal ability. And so you can tell the difference in when they were performing and everybody else was performing, as far as like momentum behind the music, because Cynthia Erivo and Ariana are just so strong singers. I think the only other person who really delivered was Jonathan Bailey, like vocally. You know, Bach, when what that man name is? Ethan Slater. Ethan Slater, when he had his little Nessa, hey Nessa, and that scene he ate. But he's also been on Broadway before. These are people who have done theater. This is what they've done. So I'm not surprised. But it's just Cynthia and Ariana was blowing everybody out of the water with their vocal ability. And it was just like, if you were to listen to the soundtrack without watching the movie, you could literally, it's so crazy. You'll be like listening to Invisible Man, whatever song the Wizard sings. And then you'll hear like that Fine Gravity right after. You're like, girl, be serious. And also, why did they not put no they not put no eyeliner in no lip gloss on Glinda? She just looked a little dry. She gives me dewy skin, Dior lip oil, small smoky wing. Eyelash extensions did make sense for her, and a very chiseled face. But I felt more dew for her. More gloss. Other than that, I have no complaints, really. I have no complaints. I also peeped, this is such like a musical theater kid thing for me to point out. When they were doing a close-up of Glinda's shoes when she was getting ready to meet Fiero, I did notice that all of the shoes were character shoes, but just with spice. Actually, all of their heels were based off of the structure of a character shoe, and then they just edited it in different ways to fit the scene, the character, the costume. But a character shoe is basically a heel that is meant for performing on stage, for you to dance in, for you to walk on stage comfortably. The ones I performed in when I did Chicago were like 1 inch. Hold on, I think I can find them. These are mine for when I did Chicago. So this is a character shoe. I believe these are like 2 inches tall. And it has the T-strap because it was Chicago 1920, so they wanted us to have like the more classic look. But first of all, this show, we start rehearsing for it in October and November, performed it in February. So we rehearsed this show for 5 months, and look how beat up my character shoes were. Like, the week of show, we were all coloring in our shoes with permanent marker, so it doesn't show up on stage. You can see like the permanent marker, and you look at the soles, and those are my initials. And if you remember what the shoes looked like in that movie, they all basically have this same structure, but they added some flair. And that's something that I don't know, that made my musical theater heart like swell, because like that was like some true theater shit. You could tell people who really into theater was behind all of this. And that's what I think I really appreciate about this show. Is you could tell people, it wasn't that they were just trying to make a movie. They were trying to make a movie that really honored the original stage production, and that really honored the Broadway musical that is Wicked, which is one of the most iconic musicals of all time. Argue with your mother. Everybody knows Popular. Everybody knows Divine Gravity. I was in middle school in like the early 2010s. Every girl you know auditioned with Popular. It's just the more I sit in it, I'm just like, they really did this show justice in a way that I think a lot of people were scared that they wouldn't, but you could tell they clearly have a passion for the source material. They clearly did their research on what like a stage production is supposed to feel like, and they did a really good job at blending the fun that we love of stage performance, which, if you're a movie person but you've never seen theater, I feel like you have to watch a stage production to really understand like the different, not only the difference in acting, but the appeal of watching, you know, live theater, because it just brings out a different passion, a different voice, a different level of like drama, you know. And I think they did a really good job of blending the drama you have from the stage show with the intricacies and subtleties you are now afforded when you are doing film. And like, I think the best examples of this is like when they will go from, you know, extreme kind of like body humor, particularly with Glinda. You'll notice like Ariana, she does really good like obvious body humor that would translate really well on stage, but it also managed to translate on film because it kind of add like this layer of humor. But you'll go from that, and then you'll go from these scenes where it's Elphaba and Fiero, when they're particularly like that moment after they go to release the lion cub, and you can see the intricacies of kind of like the way they're looking at each other and the subtle touches. Or like, one of my favorite scenes where I was like, ooh, their body is acting, like the body is acting, like the face is acting, was when they were going to go see Elphaba off to the Emerald City, and Fiero is just like all up in Elphaba. He ain't even acknowledging Glinda is there, and Glinda is like, oh, what is happening? And she's like, I think too, right? And then when she walks away, he hands Elphaba that flower, and Elphaba, as Glinda comes back, she slowly slides it behind her back. Genius. And that's what I'm talking about, that blend. Like, another example is like when Elphaba is always explaining why she's green, and she preemptively answers the questions in a very brazen, straightforward way, like she's ready for a fight kind of thing, or ready for the confrontation. She does it in a way that's like quite comedically abrasive, very theatrical, very dramatic, and once again it adds this layer of humor. And then like you'll go from that to like moments like when they were at the Oz Ball, and just, first of all, that whole scene is a master class in like acting with face. No words, just face. Like when Madame Morba was handing her the wand and basically explaining to her that she thinks she ass, but this is what Elphaba wanted, and you could see just the life drain from Glinda's face. Yeah, like that's what I mean. The blend. Also, yeah, Wicked is so funny. I did not know Wicked was so funny. I knew a little bit from the music. Like, Popular obviously is a more humorous song, but I did not know it was so funny. But I think that's because they really allowed them to go there with the acting and allowed them to really dramatize it when it was needed and to get theatrical. And it's just like, I just think it's so good. Like, it's really hard to blend those two acting styles, especially if like you're a person who's really used to one or the other. Like, I'm talking about like not them specifically, just people in general, but like, yeah, like they're all Geniuses. Let's get into the plot. Let me already tell you, this is a Nessa Rose hater household. This is a Glinda is a fake ass bitch household. I just need to let you know where I stand before we get started. Let me start off rip with this. Let me start off rip for this. If y'all cannot peep that this was all like an allegory for race relations in the political climate of the current world we live in, you're dumb. First of all, Elphaba is black. I know that bitch is green. She's black. She's black. It kind of reminds me of the phrase when people are like, I don't care if you black, white, purple, green, but you do though. You would care if I was a purple or green or blue. She's black. And I know a lot of people have discussed this, but the fact that there's been no like long-standing black performer for Elphaba is actually insane, because it adds just another layer of just like, yeah, just another layer of like complexity and depth and meaning that has always been there. Do not get me wrong. It's always been there. It's literally the book that is based off of went even harder in pushing the message. Like, it was barely fucking subtext from what I heard in the book. Like, it was very in your face. It's very clear in your face, you know? But I think unfortunately that Elphaba being white, I know some people say that it was based off of like Jewish stereotypes, and that it being a Jewish actor or a Jewish like white woman kind of is the reason why her not being black doesn't really like her being black is not a necessity to tell the story, because we can see it from like the point of view of it being a Jewish woman. But let me tell you this. Peep game and lock in. Unfortunately, Elphaba being white allows people to see this as a silly, funny musical. Because as soon as you put a white woman as Elphaba, people see them as people of equal standing. Even though the green skin is there, they know the green skin is fake. And in theory, these are just two white performers, so they see them as equals. So it takes people a lot more to imagine the implied, differences between these women beyond skin color, because they know the skin color is fake. They know people are not actually green. And unfortunately, a lot of people do not think in depth enough to peep that the green skin tone is a metaphor for something else. They see at surface level value of like, we know green skin is fake, people aren't actually green, they treat her like that because she's green, but green people don't exist. They are not able to like translate this to the fact that green people could mean other minorities or translate to other minorities in real life. Unfortunately, because people truly and deeply, when they see the show, understand that in a logical sense, these are just two white women. They can't really see the complexity of the relationship and storytelling that's happening. But when you put Elphaba as black and you make it explicit that beyond the green paint, Elphaba is a person of color, people automatically start to understand the complexities of the story more, because it kind of forces people that even if they want to view it with a blind eye and simply view her as a fictional green character, the actor in herself is black. And that is an aspect that you cannot ignore, even if you try to forego, like, seeing the green skin as the metaphor that it is. It kind of forces you to even further acknowledge the green skin when you put it on a black woman, because you start to make the direct connection that the green skin could mean something more. That maybe the greenness is a metaphor for her being black, or brown, or Asian, or anything that's not white. But I feel like people can only make that direct connection when they see it on a black body, because I feel like this level of depth of conversation around Wicked and it having such a strong political messaging wasn't happening for the last couple of years. That being said, I think that it's actually the smartest casting decision they've ever made. More black Elphabas definitely need to be on Broadway. I would like to see it. And if we do not see it, I think it is very intentional. And we should definitely note that when it comes to Broadway. Because, I mean, theater has issues with racism, just like every other industry. I mean, I was a black theater kid, and I was one of 5 most of the time. A lot of black people ain't even pushed to do theater. The fact that I wanted to do theater was just like a big, like, to my family, but my family unconditionally supported me. But that's not like a lot of things black kids are told to do or encouraged to do, even think they can do. So theaters, and then once you get there, there's just not, you're typecasted a lot. Anyways, I don't want to get into that today. If I have to bring up the racism that happens in theater, particularly like what I experienced in high school, girl, we will be here all day. I think this is the smartest casting decision they've ever made. I am so happy they stood firm in that decision, and they spelled it out. Because I don't think people would have gotten it otherwise. Now let me actually start being delusional and talk about this movie as if this is real people and real things that are happening. Of Munchkinville, our PT had a heart attack. Good. That's an evil man. First of all, so what's your daughter's green? You hate minorities? You do. You do. It gave very much white man and white woman, and then she come home with a black baby. You are not the father. Anyways, I'm happy he died. Good riddance. It's, at least I assumed he did, because he like passed out and Nessa Rose, and then the doctors came. So I hope that means he dead. He needs to stay dead and go. He should have died a long time ago. Why did you have that lady up there chewing milk flowers, milkweed, whatever it was? Then you killed her. Basically, you killed her, and you made Nessa disabled. But you mad at the black child. You mad at your dark-skinned child. Let's get into that. Let's get into the colorism of it all. The colorism of it all. That's really what it is. You discarded your dark-skinned child for your light-skinned child, and blamed your dark-skinned child for your light-skinned child's problems. But it was really your fault, but you a white man, and you could never be wrong. And that's your fucking problem right there. You know, since we're talking about colorism, dark skin, light skin, sibling, Nessa Rose, actually, listen, I know she's in a wheelchair, but E is for equality, and that means everybody can get it. And so she about to get it. You're actually a trash ass fucking sister. And I understand her wanting to have like independence her whole life, and people never affording that to her, always treating her like she was fragile because she was in a wheelchair, and all she ever wanted was independence. However, how that makes sense that you be mad at Elphaba, because Elphaba the only person who tried to advocate for Nessa's independence, and you was just mad as fuck at her the whole movie. She always felt like Elphaba was such an embarrassment, but she was the only person who really actually valued whether or not Nessa had a quality of life, irregardless of the condition that she was in. She truly tried to look out for her. But Nessa always saw Elphaba as a burden, and I think Nessa automatically feels inferior because of her condition. So in order to feel better, she had to feel superior to Elphaba, who is arguably a more social outcast because she's green. That's fucked up. She was feeding into the colorism too. She was benefiting off of that shit, and she knew it, and she liked it. Yeah, anyways, I don't want to give spoilers for the second act, but she'll get what she deserves. I'm going to talk about Dulcie Bear. Dulcie Bear was definitely in Munchkinland doing cornrows and microbraids. Like, I just know. You want to get laid and slayed in 6 hours and less for $200 or less? You went to Dulcie Bear house. I already know. First of all, the way Dulcie Bear took care of Elphaba, I know she was slaying hair. I know she was. That is a black auntie right there. Like, oh, we all know a Dulcie Bear. We all have a Dulcie Bear in our community, okay? She's everybody's mother. She always makes sure everybody's taken care of. She look out for all the kids, no matter what. Nobody's an outcast if they're around Dulcie Bear. Dulcie Bear is a weird-ass bitch, really bitch than the actual fucking humans. And that's why they wanted to take their right to wear. Let's peep, because Why did they want to take them animal rights away? Well, they explain, you know, when people are going through times of economic and political strife, you got to give them a common enemy with the animals. But it's really because them animals, they were more compassionate, more intelligent, smarter, and they couldn't take. So they had to get rid of them and strip away their rights. Why? Oh, let me not get into it. Let me not. But y'all know what I want to say. Dulcie Bear, she was real. I hope Dulcie Bear is doing well. Do we see Dulcie Bear again in the second act? Somebody let me know. Next, let's get into Bach. And this has actually nothing to do with Bach. This has everything to do with Ethan Slater. Hit, chopped, clapped. However, I see the charm. I see how he ended up with Ariana. Anybody who's been in theater knows as soon as you find out there's a straight man on set, it's all out war of who can bag that man first. When I look back on it, there was about there was a handful of straight guys in my theater program, and let me tell you, them niggas never stayed single too long. Cause a straight man in theater, that's a rarity. A genuine straight man in theater, that's a rarity. Okay, the women were fighting. Unfortunately, I was part of the women. I ended up in a love square my senior year, fighting over the one straight man in theater. Well, I wasn't fighting over him because actually the two other people were my friends. Nasty work, but that's how it happens in theater. Also, it's like proximity bias. You spend every day with these people for a couple of hours every day for like at least 6 months, and then they've been filming Wicked since 2021. Yeah, I completely understand how that happened. We didn't all fell for an ugly male lead. Free her. I mean, I know she done stuck beside him for quite a minute, but I hope she continues to see and see the world, because he can't be everything. But I see he was a little charismatic as a Bach, but he was annoying as shit too. Cause why the fuck he played in Nessa face like that? If I ever found out a nigga got with me as out of a dare, and then he was like, well, I actually started to like you. This is not to all the boys I loved before. Do not play in my fucking face like that. Vanessa Rose needed to run him over. I should have no opinions of him outside of that. He had some good body acting. He has some good body humor. That's all I have to say. He's clapped. I didn't care. Next, we're gonna talk about Fiero. Fiero, my man. Do you see how those words sound to say Fiero and my man? Those are basically the same words. Jonathan Bailey, please. I know you don't row your boat down the stream this away, but maybe consider it if you are particularly famished and you find no fish in your side of the pond. Please. Actually, that's my problem in my actual dating life. I like him gay. A little bisexual. Yeah. Fiero, oh, I love the depth of it all, and I love how Elphaba brings out the actual true side of him. But like, I'm not that girl. Every black girl felt that. Every black girl that went to a PWI, every black girl that lived in the burbs felt that. I know I did. I still have those moments. I actually made a TikTok about it. Talking about being the black situationship before the long-term white girlfriend. That was me. I am her. I try not to think very deeply about it, however, during that scene, or else I would crash out in the middle of the movie theater. They would have to escort me out. But yeah, Fiero, so smart, so handsome, so strong, so charismatic. I mean, I understand why I fell for him in the movie, because I am Glinda. I am Elphaba in here, but for this video, I am Glinda. So I completely understand why I fell for him in the movie. I mean, look at him. I have no other thoughts other than that's a man. Next, let's talk about Madame Morrible. You know, I talked to one of my friends about this, who's Asian. She's Vietnamese. And she was like, of course they would cast an Asian woman for Madame Morrible, because, you know, there's kind of like the Asian bitch trope. And I said, hey, they was, the movie hella woke. But, you know, even when you try to be hella woke, sometimes you still end up typecasting. I think, hey, But Michelle Yeoh, she knows how to play that very well. Because she ate the fuck down as Madame Morrible, just not in the single category. I mean, I'm so sorry, Michelle Yeoh, you cannot sing, but that's okay. The acting was there. It was tight. It was... But you can also tell... Has Michelle Yeoh been on Broadway? Because I feel like she had a true, like, film actor performance. Was she the perfect fit for Madame Morrible? I do not know. I think she was a great fit. But perfect? Because I found out that Cheryl Lee Raff auditioned for Madame Morrible. And famously so, she was Madame Morrible on Broadway. And we know Cheryl Lee Ralph gets down. I would like to see a director's cut of that version. Nobody watches Wicked, The Wiz, The Wizard of Oz, none of them movies in that universe for the wizard himself. Nobody does. He's like the least important character in the movie. I mean, yes, his storyline's important. Jeff Goldblum, that's a fine old man. But he was meh. But that's because the character is meh. It's like the least important. Okay, it's important. Nah, it's important, but it's like he's the least interesting character in the movie. You know he a fraud from like the moment the movie start, since like it's like a well-known, it's heavily like hinted at. You know, him being a fraud is also exposed fairly quickly into the storyline across all three of those movies. So, I mean, Jeff Goldblum really couldn't fuck it up. He's not really a singer. He did his part though, but this Sentimental Man is not really a song you need a true leading man for. So I'm like, Jeff Goldblum, he was just there. But also, the wizard is kind of just there in his own universe. But now we have to get into the two leading women. I'm gonna talk about Glinda first. Fuck that hoe. She's so funny, so beautiful, so stylish. But she is a fake ass bitch. I think you know what? I think she's not fake. No, she fake, but it's more of like she is for Glinda before she is for anybody. Which in a sense we all should be, but not at the sake of being like a good person. And she does it at the sake of being a good person. She don't give a fuck. As long as Glinda remains on top, she puts humanity aside. She puts empathy aside. And even though she can have those things, at the end of the day, it will never outweigh her ultimate goals and motives. And it's like when their friendship was good, ooh, I wanted them to kiss. Not in a romantic way, but like in a platonic way. Like they were giving sisters. They were giving one soul. I wanted them to fuse. Like in Steven's universe. And you could see that there were certain parts of each other's soul that they saw in each other. However, Elphaba is more of a person who moves purely off of what feels right in her emotions. And Glinda is somebody who, though has emotions, her wants, her superficial wants, and the validation from the external world is always going to supersede what she feels. Because she feels like the ultimate gratification she can have in life, the ultimate happiness she can have is the validation of others, right? So no matter what emotion she is feeling, that feeling of being validated by the world is always going to feel better. And so, though I think she was a genuine friend to Elphaba once they became friends, she has a certain level of selfishness that she could not dispose of for her friend. And though I don't think you should dispose your selfishness at all times for others, this was a case where I feel like she really needed to. And therefore, she is a fake ass bitch. And I can see, and like, though like during the movie I was rolling my eyes, I can easily see how Glinda is likable. Because at the end, she is funny. And she is charismatic. She was being nice, but she wasn't particularly kind. She was nice. Big difference. She didn't move with actual like kindness in her heart and empathy for others and wanting to do the right thing. She did it off of the superficiality of what it means to be nice and what it means to come off as nice to others, right? And so a lot of people in a world where we are all very surface level, to be honest, most people look at appearances first and can judge whether they will like or dislike you or hear you or not hear you. We are a very superficial society. So it's very understandable how like Glinda was able to amass the love and respect she got, even though to people like Elphaba, it was so obvious she was full of shit. But tying it back to race, that's just how it is. The black women always peep shit. We always, when there's something in the water and there's something is boo boo, we could tell. But when you're white, the whole society kind of gives you the benefit of the doubt that you are a good person, even when you've actively shown that you're not. The world believes in the idea that white pretty people are inherently good and can do no wrong, even when they do hella wrong. That we have to give them the benefit of the doubt. We have to give them grace, or there was a greater reason, good reason that they did things. But when you black, you peep the bullshit, because black people, like, because we're naturally not afforded that, we kind of have to dissect, okay, well, how do we get that, or how do we be that? And we realize the only path to that is a lot of fake, a lot of phoniness, a lot of disingenuine behavior and connections. And there are quite a few black people, not all, who choose not to partake in that, because the superficiality of it is so disgusting that though it would make their life easier, maybe appease white society better to uphold this superficiality, because it wasn't originally afforded to them and they have to work towards it, it feels inauthentic. While with like white people, conventionally attracted people, it was something that was always afforded to them, so them keeping it up isn't necessarily hard, or playing into it isn't necessarily hard. So yeah, I completely understand why, that was the case for Glinda, that even though she was a terrible person, people still loved her. When you're white and pretty, you can get away with anything, damn near. But it's like when when she was being genuine and they can actually afford to connect on a real level, like, it brought tears to my eyes. Like, that chemistry, like that platonic chemistry, maybe a little homosexual chemistry, but that platonic chemistry, you can't fake that shit. Well, you can, because they were kind of, but now we see how bonded and close they are in real life, or Ariana and Cynthia Erivo. So like, that is a friendship chemistry you cannot fake. That is tangible, and you will feel it, and it feels so warm, and it feels so good, and it feels so happy. And then you remember who Glinda is, and you like, damn bitch, why can't you just stay consistent? Why can't you stay real? Oh, Defying Gravity, actually, like, I felt 52 different emotions during Defying Gravity, because she really had me believing that she was gonna get on that broom, and then she didn't. I was so fucking mad. Like, why would she even give me that hope? Oh! It hurted. It hurted real bad. But I need to start wrapping this up. So let's get to Elphaba. The woman that you are. Oh! I resonate with Elphaba so much because I am an awkward black girl. Is that not what Elphaba is? I don't care that she's green. She's an awkward black girl. Fun fact, I'm going to be starting a web show called The Awkward Black Girl, hosted by your one and only, and I might be releasing a test episode very soon. Anyways, she is an awkward black girl. That, her whole experience was giving very much Black Girl in the Burbs. Basically my experience. It literally gives, when you're a black girl who's like moved to the burbs, raised in the burbs, but you still try to remain. Because, either way, you're going to be ostracized by society, so might as well stay strong in your blackness and just deal with the world and deal with the uncomfortabilities and the awkwardness that comes with living in a world that doesn't accept you, but you have no choice but to stand strong in who you are. And literally, that's what Elphaba gave to me. Like, the awkward black girl who, though knows that she is not the standard or accepted, refuses to kneel to society, because they know either way you're not gonna like me, so might as well be comfortable in the very thing that you don't like about me, because you're not gonna like me regardless, unless I gain proximity to a white bitch. And what happened? Yeah. Anyways, and, clock it. It was only through proximity. Clock it. Elphaba. It's so hard when you are the best and most qualified, the smartest, and maybe even the prettiest. But because of the color of your skin, they are going to hate everything about you. Oh, and they hate you even more if you're black and qualified. But when you define the odds, when you defy the odds, oh, they hate you even more. It gave, you know, the black girl who is the smartest, who's the most qualified, and it takes the one person, one teacher, one mentor, one employer, one manager who sees the vision in them and invests in them. And then the white girl looking like, why I didn't get that? Even though they're not qualified, they're not the best, not the smartest. They're not anything, just white. They automatically feel like they should be in that position because of who they are. And not because maybe they actually earned it or deserve to be in that spot. But the black person who actually deserves to be in that spot, they automatically disqualify because of the color of their skin. Elphaba, I felt you. I feel, especially like me, I was a black girl who did AP and honors my whole life. I also, like I said, I did theater, I did the arts. So like, I've been in this predicament like a lot, even in my adult working life. I've been in this predicament a lot. And like, I just truly resonated with everything she was experiencing. Like I said, I don't like to think about the song I'm Not That Girl too deeply, or that scene too deeply, because I've literally been in that exact same situation. Does Cynthia Erivo understand like how powerful her rendition of Elphaba is? Like how revolutionary this is? This made a whole different like demographic of black girls be seen on a large screen. Of course, we have shows that make us feel seen, like Insecure, for example, and other like black censored media. But this is like on the big screen where millions and millions and millions of people viewed this. It put an experience of girls like me on the big screen for everyone to consume and to witness the horrors of. Which sounds sad, but now I can complain about it freely and people get me. People understand me because they saw Wicked and they understand what Elphaba went through. And I feel like now people will be able to make more of the racial connection because they spelled it out for you by making Cynthia Elphaba. It's just like, oh, defying gravity. Yeah. I'm holding space for it. Hold on, I'm holding space. Yeah. I cried. I cried. I think we all cried. Did we not? I think we all cried. Yeah, I cried. Knowing the world's gonna hate you, so you might as well give them something to hate. And it's better to stand 10 toes down on being who you are and your ethics and your talent and your views and your morals than succumb to a society that never gave a damn about you in the first place. Who you will only benefit if you do what they say and you be their public and you perfectly assimilate, but they will always view you as other. And as soon as you try to practice autonomy, they're going to turn on you. So you might as well get comfortable in the fact that they hate you, because they always will. You might as well do it with some pride and with less suffering. And that felt truly aspirational to me as a black woman. You know, hair, the way we speak, our general attitude, you know, having to rub shoulders with the right people and prove that you're not one of those, and then and having to assimilate to get to, you know, the upper floors of the corporate building, just to realize when you get there that you were a puppet to begin with. Though you can put greed and money above all of that, what is truly the point or purpose? of doing so when you're losing everything about who you are as a person. And though there's people like Glinda who can afford to do that, because to be quite honest, they've never had to really give up anything in life. When you've already given up, and when you've already felt the brute force of the world, though to some, once they see the good side, they feel like I would never want to go back. But once you start to compare the reasoning and see the logic behind why you suddenly got treated better, it no longer feels good, because it doesn't feel real and it doesn't feel honest. It almost doesn't feel earned in some ways. When you've already been at the bottom, getting to the top doesn't automatically make you feel comfortable. If you know the reason why you got there is because you rubbed shoulders with the right people, because you had to forego who you were at your core. For some people, wealth and money is enough to forego that, but it clearly wasn't for Elphaba. And I applaud her. Because in this world, people make you feel like money is king. And that, well, you will have a good life, but I wouldn't be living an honest one. I'm literally getting emotional. Like, this is so powerful. Like this! Elphaba can do no wrong in my eyes. All Elphaba did wrong was have a good motherfucking heart and letting the wrong motherfuckers in. And who am I to say she's wrong for that? When you've been outcasted your whole life and you see the chance of community and friendship, who wouldn't? Even if it feels a little unsafe and a little insecure. At our core, we are social human beings who yearn for community. So I can't say she's wrong for opening her heart to that bitch. I have nothing to say about Elphaba because she is me, and so everything I say about her would just ultimately circle back to me. I can't forego reality right now, because Elphaba as a character is so grounded in like the human experience. I can't talk about it in a surface level way. So I don't cry, and so this video doesn't end on a somber note. I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna go see Wicked for a third time. In conclusion, I'm going to go see Wicked again, and then I'll probably see it again after that. I want to go see it on Broadway because I'm going to New York in February, but them tickets was a little expensive. Yes, I am going to be starting a web show. It's not a podcast because we have too many of those, and I'm going to force you to see my gorgeous face. And yes, that is part of the intro of the web show. I'm going to be doing like a test episode, a pilot episode, kind of just to see how people feel about it before I actually start like investing in getting like the proper equipment to do the show to the capacity that I would like to do it. Because I don't want it to give like lazy podcasts I just do in my room. Like, I want it to give like genuine curated content, something that is truly for my awkward black girls. But to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what it's about, the Awkward Black Girl Web Show is hosted by me, Daria, your local residential awkward black girl. This is inspired by The Misadventures of the Awkward Black Girl by Issa Rae, the web series. It is required reading or required watching for this web show. It will just be me talking about my different various experiences that I've encountered being the awkward black girl, and it will also feature an advice column, and then it will also feature another segment where I kind of talk about like my favorite things and my hobbies, because I think that is a big part of like what makes me the awkward black girl, because of like the unconventionality of the things that I like, though I don't think they're very unconventional. In the time in which I gained a lot of my interest in these things, it was still uncommon for black people or black girls in particular to be interested in them. So I still hold them as like my near dear awkward black girl hobbies or interests, things like that. So it's also just so you guys can understand a little bit more about me as a person outside of being an awkward black girl, and just to add that added layer of relatability. I feel like we need more representation. I think that's why I hold Wicked so close to my heart at the moment, because that was some good awkward black girl representation for me, and I feel like we need more, so I wanted to do my part in that. Anyways, go watch Wicked if you haven't already. What are you doing? Why aren't you even watching the video? But if you have seen it, go watch it again. Go run them people their money, and quickly pay black people their money. Amen.